All right, it's time for world politics, and of course, a lot is happening on the political landscape. I've got Sasha Starr with me, and we'll be talking about some of the things going on, and we'll see who else joins us as well. But I know a lot of folks are talking about the Epstein files and what's going on with that, and whether they will be released or not released. And as Sasha was saying earlier today, there might even be some political manipulations going on where there may be people that are trying to have other investigations so they don't have to release the Epstein files, despite the fact that Marjorie Taylor Greene was there with a lot of women victims that were wanting the files released and were thinking that it was a victory of the how the House voted, but there might be people doing some manipulations within the political landscape to not have the files come out and all along those lines. And of course, there's a lot of turmoil in various parts of the world, whether that's in Latin America or whether that's what's the continual war going on. And I know Sasha will be talking about that tomorrow as Ukraine continues their valiant efforts against Russia and its horrible invasion and all along those lines. And definitely folks are talking about whether Trump may be going into Venezuela to fight them and everything like that. So there's a number of things going on, including the Sudan conflict and a number of other things that are taking place in the world. But I'm going to bring in Sasha Starr, see what he's got on his mind and how things are going in his world and what's in his thoughts and everything like that, because there's a lot going on in the world and a lot of people are paying attention to a number of these global issues. So how are you doing today, Sasha? I know that you've been following the Epstein files and been following, of course, what's going on in your home country of Ukraine, even though you've been a longtime resident of Canada and all along those lines, but definitely that was your birthplace, if I remember correctly, and everything like that. So I know you've been following that and have been doing a great job here on the network, keeping us informed about what's going on in that space as well. And then, of course, a lot of people are even seeing that NATO is mobilizing because they're expecting maybe a greater Russian threat, because I did mention that in the news earlier today, and they're trying to figure out how to mobilize their forces should Russia decide to attack parts of Europe that have not been attacked, such as France and England and things like that in that sense. So how are you doing? And what are your thoughts about everything from the Saudi Arabian prince to the Epstein files?
Well, you asked me a question that requires a lot of answers. Okay, let's try one by one. Okay,
Yeah.
let's start, of course, with Ukraine because I'm following this very, very, very closely. So Trump has a lot of setbacks in his foreign policy, in his domestic policies, and so on. His approval rating is the lowest of all presidents in modern times, or all times, if you wish. Uh, what's happened is that he took United States in a direction where no other presidents ever done. He is completely ignoring his position with usual many years partners like Western Europe, Canada, and others. And it's not just the tariffs. It's not. It's the tariffs. In his interpretation, is one of the levers that he has to bring everybody else to his knees and do whatever he wants them to do. Whether it's legal or not, Supreme Court, I think, will ultimately decide, because essentially what's happened, because whatever countries he's imposing tariffs, they are not paying these tariffs. No, it's American people who are paying these tariffs, American importers who are paying these tariffs. So this is not really tariffs, it's a kind of a tax on American people. And issue of taxation is obviously in powers of Congress, not single person, even if he's a president. That's just not something what he was elected to do. And that, of course, brings the economic situation in the country to a horrible, horrible situation. And finally, stock market starts to crack, and Bitcoin is going down the drain. It went down again, and usually, whenever the Bitcoin drops, it's something what stock market does a little bit later. So, but Bitcoin is going down now for some time. So the assumption is that the stock market will follow it. And even the results of Nvidia yesterday, which were spectacular, that alone couldn't save the market today. It went down big time. Everything went down, including Nvidia. Even Nvidia, which opened higher than it closed yesterday, it didn't save the day. It went down very significant numbers, and even after market, it still continued to going down, like almost all other stocks.
Oh,
So that's concerning his domestic policy. Now, in his international policies, what's happened is to get away from the Epstein files, which surprisingly all Congress
mhm.
voted almost unanimously to release the files.
Right.
The president himself signed release the files. But here comes the game. At the same time, Trump asked Department of Justice to start investigations of leading Democrats, starting from Bill Clinton and many others, based on the materials containing in the files. So that would give Department of Justice a reason not to release the files because they are part of the investigation. So that investigation can go up for the next, say, 3 years. So until the end of Trump's presidency, there will be investigation. And they don't have to investigate all Democrats at the same time. They can start with one of them, going on for several months, then another one for several months, then yet somebody else for several months, and so on. So how all that will be resolved? My prediction is Supreme Court.
Yep. Supreme Court makes a lot of sense, and that's probably where it'll go to. And he'll probably try to get that done in before next year's midterm elections. Because I did see, and I didn't get to that on World Edition, that the Democrats are actually ahead in terms of their popularity ahead of Trump and everything like that. So there's a lot of people that are predicting that if it goes the way that it's going now, the Democratic Party will win some gains in the midterms and everything like that. So right now he's got a chokehold on a lot of the government. As you've mentioned, he's got the lead in the Supreme Court. He's got both the House and the Senate. And of course, he's got the presidency. So he probably will do all of these investigations during this time versus doing it after the midterm elections, particularly should the Democrats gain ground and it be like a frozen kind of situation where they don't have total control and he doesn't have total control. Because right now he's got total control of everything, including the departments that he has put people in heads of, including the Department of Health and, of course, education and a number of other departments that we've talked about and everything like that. We're seeing a lot of people, even here in, as I mentioned on the news earlier today, in Durham and in Lenore and various other places. I know it was in Chicago, it was in California. So he's got these ICE goons, and I'll call them goons, going around and doing his bidding and his dirty work and all along those lines. And I'm sure that after he's done with North Carolina and DC, because he was in DC as well, he'll probably, it might be while he's meeting with Mom Donnie tomorrow. He might even be thinking about going to New York and everything like that. So I'm sure he's got some target cities in mind, most of them democratically controlled and everything like that, because definitely Durham has a Democratic mayor and pretty much overwhelmingly a Democratic leadership and everything like that. Raleigh is a little bit different, our state capital, and has a mixture, but definitely didn't matter. He still went there, and I think Charlotte's got a mixture as well. But as what's your take on this whole ICE situation? I know that's a different topic, but what's your take on it? We heard some of the other people like Jacoby's and others this morning, but what is your take on these ICE raids?
Okay, I'll tell you what I think about it. I watched Farid Zakaria on
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, and he had um, some pictures of Pope, who,
Mm-hmm.
by the way, was born in the United States,
Yes,
Chicago.
Chicago.
Right. And several episcopes or so on. And they are all furious of actions of ISIS. Because what they're saying is that most of these immigrants that Trump is now just vandalizing, they are from Latin America.
Mm-hmm.
And Latin America is a Catholic countries, most of them.
Right.
And so they're Christians. So what is saying that the Christians, they are always help people in needs, and
Mm-hmm.
they are helping them as their brothers. And instead, America, which is also um, well considered to be Christians, and
Mm-hmm.
at least officially they are keeping the Judeo-Christian faith.
Right.
They are doing everything against principles of Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
So this is, of course, a lot of people, especially around the world, they are furious of what's happening today in America.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with that, I would like to touch situation in Ukraine.
Yes, please.
What's happened is that to deflect attention from the Epstein's files and IC and many other controversial points, which are all losing badly for Trump so far, he's trying now to get attention to Ukraine by suggesting. Now it was like almost. A document prepared 28 points of a
Mm-hmm.
peace plan for Ukraine. So this was almost in hiding and waiting to be released, although a lot of it already now becoming public slowly. The basic thing of this so-called plan is a complete capitulation of Ukraine, giving Russian territories which it didn't even acquire yet. There are great fighting on the front lines. And so idea of Trump is that, well, Ukraine, you're losing the war anyway. Russia will get ahead and they will get even much more territories that you otherwise would give them now. And all those bombardments of merciless killing of Ukrainian population, including children, so you have to admit that you lost the war and just give it everything, whatever you need to Russia, including making Russian language official language of Ukraine, constricting the Ukrainian army to next to nothing. So basically, it's a complete capitulation. Now, in order to understand actually whether it's indeed true that Ukraine is losing the war, let's go to a recent article in The Economist, which is
Mm-hmm.
a very influential publication in UK.
Yes.
What they're saying is that in 3 years, in the past 3 years, Russia didn't make any significant progress in Ukraine. They didn't get any significant Ukrainian city. They are losing 5-1
Mm-hmm.
their soldiers. Is that you mean that Ukraine is losing the war? Sorry, I disagree with that 100%. Ukraine is not losing the war. They're inflicting very serious damage to Russian, for example, oil refineries and
Mm-hmm.
other important points. And there is nothing that would suggest at all that Ukraine is losing the war. Interestingly enough, when State Department people, including Rubio, they were asked to comment on this plan, Rubio said that there is no plan. It's something to discuss. It's something. Now, the plan was prepared by Trump's friendly real estate developers like Witkoff, like Kushner, and these people. They don't have any positions in U.S. government at all. They're nobody. Just being friends and son-in-law of Trump doesn't mean they're any significant people in the U.S. government. They're not. So U.S. State Department denies anything that they have to do anything with this document. That Rubio says that it's something for discussion, something. So discuss it. Why not? Discuss. Put it up in the open. Tell American people this is what we prepared. That's what we want to discuss. Bring the Congress, both the Republicans and Democrats, the Senate and the House, and discuss it and make something out of it. No, it's all in secrecy. There are some secret negotiations between these people, Trump's supporters and friends, and somebody with the name Dmitriev, who is a puppet of Putin. And they are together put this plan. And there is a lot of talking points by Putin, which are in the heart of this plan. So this is absolutely incredible situation in the West, Europe, Western Europe, Canada, Australia, and all civilized countries. They are horrified by what Trump is doing with the Ukrainian questions. Of course, Ukraine will not capitulate. Ukraine will not go along with this Trump. And apparently, Ukraine is preparing now with Western Europe their own plan how to deal with this horrible situation, where Russia actually violated all international rules, agreements. I would mention Helsinki 75 and many others. So Russia is in complete violation of all that. And Trump, instead of following the plan and to make Russian lives miserable and make them actually really coming to the table and end the war, he is just encouraging Putin to do even more damage to Ukraine. And all these years that he is a president, many times he would stop any help to Ukraine, sharing intelligence, stopping sending the weapons and financial help. And even now, the U.S. is not helping to Ukraine except selling Europe the weapons, and then Europe brings it to Ukraine. So this is a very, very horrible arrangement, what is going on now. I don't know whether that could be somehow justified, whether the American people, Congress, House, and Senate will go for such a horrible deal.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We've been joined by Rick and everything like that. I just wanted, and this is for both of you, your thoughts around the COP30 is going on, and that's around climate change and whether climate change and climate issues are a major concern. But some people will be surprised where a lot of these summits are taking place, because COP30 was held in Brazil, and some people say Brazil has its own corrupt government and everything like that. I've even got some friends from that particular country. But now the next one is going to be in Turkey, which is run by Erdogan, and Erdogan has its own problems as well. So what's your take on where they're moving?
America under Trump will do nothing about climate change. Trump is entirely in the pockets and his attitudes of people who don't give a crap about climate change. And he just is he's in the middle of it, issuing an executive order that he'll sue any state that tries to regulate AI. And that's connected to climate change, because AI uses up a ton. People argue about how much exactly, but AI consumes a lot of energy and a lot of water. And it'll get more efficient over time. But right now, when you ask AI a question, it has to do, 1.2 billion calculations to write your 500-page term paper for you. That's expensive in terms of energy.
And who is paying for this energy?
consumers in some places where electricity costs have gone up because there's more demand.
Well, for most people, AI is completely useless. I was even surprised yesterday on the financial show. One of the guests, Dr. Sombarok, he was making an example that he's using Gemini, developed by Google, to predict stock prices, and saying that, okay, if you take this position, you have 58% of success. What, 58%? Is it in 10 years, in 10 days, in 10 hours? What exactly does 58% mean? Nothing. It's just a noise.
Yeah, and AI will, you can ask AI about what to do about stocks, and it will roll together in a big ball all the opinions of everybody who's ever had an opinion about stocks. And that's not a way to beat the stock market. And the kid who's writing a term paper, that's fine. He gets a great term paper. He doesn't learn how to write, but he gets an A- or something. But AI, nobody makes money off of that. The kid isn't paying anybody for AI to write his term paper.
So it's just using a lot of energy and water, and it's just completely useless at this point. I would agree that the AI could be great in medicine, in discovering new vaccines or some other medical stuff. Yeah, I would agree with that, and that's probably primarily use of AI should be. That's where primarily it could be very, very useful.
Yeah, AI can take a look at trillions of data points, way too big to fit inside anybody's head, and say, hey, maybe there's a relationship between these two things. And then, it can give you places to look that you wouldn't otherwise find because you'd be searching through an impossibly huge database. But
that makes sense and everything. Just really quick, and this is for both of you as well. I know that a part of the citizenship thing that people are very proud of that come from other countries, and I've had friends that have moved here from various other countries, be they African nations or European nations or wherever, is this notion of citizenship ceremonies. And apparently earlier today, Trump is canceling multiple citizenship ceremonies in New York, claiming that they had unmet legal requirements and everything like that. So it looks like he might be rolling back on this notion of the citizenship ceremonies. And I know that this can be a big deal. There have been some here in North Carolina. There have been some in LA where you are, and there have been all over the world. And a lot of citizens are very proud to have to go through that ceremony and become official citizens of the United States. But apparently he's
Trump is like, we're old enough to remember All in the Family.
Right.
Trump is like if you made Archie Bunker president and made Archie Bunker a bigger asshole. On that show, All in the Family, Archie Bunker could generally, by the end of a half hour, be brought around to being less of an asshole. But nobody can make Trump less of an asshole. And
he wasn't the only asshole in TV shows, and sometimes it could even be people in the minority community. Because I was actually watching an old Sanford and Son episode where he was being very negative to his Latin American neighbor, and I think that character was in there for a while. But definitely that was a rub that they were going after each other on a regular basis.
Yeah, Fred Sanford, he never changed. He was the same guy episode after episode.
Right.
Imagine making him president. No.
No, you would not want him to be president either or anything like that. I did have a question for both of you about another part of the world that is in turmoil and has been in turmoil for a while, but it involves Trump as well. Apparently, Trump has a Gaza peace plan, and there are some people that are excited about this plan, and it will have some of Trump's interest engaged in Gaza and everything like that. So what is our take about this Gaza peace plan that involves Trump and some of his business interests? And are we going to see a kind of a rebirth of what people say Lebanon used to be, when it was more of a resort kind of environment, but this time it'll be Gaza area of Israel. That'll be like the old Lebanon and everything like that. So
Sasha knows better than I do, but somebody has to rebuild Gaza. And it'll take billions of dollars. Like 80% of the buildings there have been destroyed, probably more when you get in there and really look at it. And Gaza has, what, 25 miles of beautiful coastline? So if Trump thinks there's money in it, and he can talk the Saudis or somebody into going in and rebuilding because they can make money off of it, it's better than nobody rebuilding. And yeah, the only deals Trump makes will be corrupt deals. But if you can allow for his corruption, maybe I don't know, Sasha.
I think that whatever Trump plan for Gaza is, there are 28 points or 288 points, it doesn't matter, because the most important thing is Hamas has to get rid of their weapons. They have to lay down the weapons. From that point on, you can talk about rebuilding Gaza or completely make some plans to make it a resort there or whatever else. But without question number one, Hamas has to lay down their arms. And it's not in the cards. It's never been started. And that's why all the other plans and rebuilding or not rebuilding or doing anything like that, it's moot. It doesn't matter what are your plans if Hamas still controls their weapons. That's just as simple as that. And the only country that would care to disarm Hamas is Israel. There is no one else in the world who would go and do it. No Qatar, no Saudi Arabia, no United States, no country in the world would do it. As Trump's plan was, part of his plan was to resettle the Palestinians into countries like Muslim countries, mostly like Egypt or Qatar or anybody else. No one country wants to have Palestinians. Period. No Arab countries, no Christian country, no whatever. They just don't need Palestinians. They all hate Palestinians, and they all wish that they would somehow one day disappear. That's all what I can say about rebuilding the Gaza.
So Gaza has had terrible governance for 78 years, since 1947. Their leaders have constantly voted against or acted against their own people. And if you're going to have a resort in Gaza, you can't have Hamas, because nobody's going to want to come to a place where they can get blown up or shot or taken hostage. And I don't know, Israel's tried a lot of other stuff. Maybe the promise that, if you make it a resort and the average income in Palestine goes up to $80,000, would that convince the Palestinian population to get rid of Hamas?
But this is all dreams, nothing more than dreams, because all has to start with disarming Hamas. And that is not done. And so far, except Israel, no one would take that job. So then we are at impasse. You can have wonderful plans to build resorts, to build this and that and factories, and it doesn't matter, because before Hamas will lay down their weapons, nothing will be done there.
And I don't think you can get the population to get rid of Hamas itself, because Hamas has all the weapons. And if you speak out against Hamas from within Gaza, they'll pay a visit to you, and you will not. It won't go well for you.
Okay, that's exactly what it is. Except one thing, that since they don't hold hostages anymore, they are much more vulnerable to Israel to clean up the place, get their weapons from Hamas, and so on. When and if that will happen, you'll find out soon.
Yeah, speaking of finding out soon, what is our take on? It looks like Israel is expanding not just into Gaza, but they're also going after Hezbollah, another terrorist organization, in places like Lebanon and in other places like around the Middle East. So, what is our take on that? Is this just going to be an expanding war, much in the way that people are speculating that the war will be expanding in Europe with Ukraine and Russia and other countries? So, are we going to be expanding further into other parts of the Middle East?
Again, Sasha knows better, but I'll say first, Israel's historically has shown an ability to go in and take care of business and then pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that Israel's interested in getting into forever, conflicts in Lebanon.
Well, you see, if it wouldn't be for Trump, Israel would clean up all those places decisively. Now, Trump, being a wheeler dealer, he wants to create an opportunity for himself. So, okay, we're going to build something here or not. He's not going to invest even a penny in Gaza or Lebanon or just any other territory. He will bring possibly Qatar or maybe Saudi Arabia or somebody else, and he will take his cut, 20%, 50%, whatever it might be, and for himself, and that's all. He's using his platform as a president of America, do commercial stuff for himself and his family. That's all what he's doing. He's not doing anything for American people. He's doing all kind of business deals for himself and his family. So if there will be a business deal with Lebanon or Gaza, but in Gaza you have to get rid of Hamas with their weapons. So this is in passé and many other objects. So he's flying in United Arabs and Qatar and others, taking all kind of presents. Here is a plane, here is a golden watch or whatever else he's taking, and that's it. That's all what he's doing as American president, enriching himself and his family.
So I looked it up. Lebanon has a population of just under 6 million. They've got about as many Hezbollah fighters as Hamas did in Gaza, among 1/3 as many people, only 2 million people in Gaza. And Hamas is more thoroughly braided into the population. I would think that Lebanon still remembers when Lebanon was a vacation spot
long time ago.
But I think it would be easier to get Hezbollah out of Lebanon than it will be to get Hamas out of Gaza.
Well, it all comes down to one very simple thing: taking weapons away from Hamas, from Hezbollah, or whatever. So it's all dreams about a great future and rebuild or do something else. It all comes down to, do Hamas and Hezbollah lay down the weapons? It's one story. They don't, it's completely different story. This is one very simple question.
So I was looking up Lebanon's GDP per capita. I mean, fuck you! Come on, Google.
I'm not sure that's a very important issue. I mean, if there is a Hezbollah and with their weapons, they're completely controlling the country. What's the GDP? It's a little bit higher or lower? What?
It's not great. It's like it's cut by half. In 2022, 2023, it was $12,000 per capita. Pretty bad, but in the past 2 years, it's $5,000 per. So political strife and Hezbollah has devastated the Lebanon.
Okay, then GDP of Gaza, what is there? $200 per person.
Wow, let's see.
Yeah, you can do that, but again, it's immaterial. It doesn't. First of all, you can trust these figures because who is providing these figures? Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza.
It's terrible. GDP for all of Palestine is $500. So they're living on toothpicks and spit.
Yeah.
They're living on toothpick and spit. I was watching this interesting movie because I don't know, I've mentioned it a couple of times, but I'm judging a film festival committee and everything. But it was a movie set in Bulgaria, and part of it was around media and was asking how much of the media is actually, and this is a question for you, Sasha, how much of it is actually true journalists? Like I know that Ivan has got a journalistic background and definitely shows a lot of very potent videos, but this particular person was, I think, out of Bulgaria, and they were showing that a lot of their media was controlled by social media. So there was a lot of conspiracy theories, including Trump and his whole leaks theory, that were coming out of the social media outlet in some of the countries, like Bulgaria and some of the other Eastern European countries. So how much are they dependent on their mainstream media versus some of the social media that's out there, and how much are they being misinformed?
Okay, I'll tell you a very simple thing. America was trying to build democracy in Iraq, in Afghanistan, and we know results. We know what's happened there. There are places in the world. Victor David Hansen, a historian, he wrote a wonderful book, is by the name The End of Everything. And he's talking about different times in history when all civilization was eradicated, completely destroyed, and never appeared again. Carthage, Byzantium, many other places. What's interesting is that there are places today in the world, like Gaza, like Afghanistan, where civilized people have no business to be there. There are places that cannot be populated by civilized people. Period. Stay away from these places. Let them just die or reform themselves if they can, or do something about it, but not try to invade these places and build something there and convert them into something else, what they're not. Just forget about, just avoid these places.
Sasha, it's ironic that you, hold on a second. It's ironic that you say that, because that is what some of the African nations said about Europe when Europe was in the Dark Ages and everything like that. So there was this belief by some of the advanced civilizations that were in the other parts of the world, whether that was Africa, whether that was Asia, about European society. So what you're saying is not an old argument. It's an argument that was put out by those societies decades ago and many centuries ago and everything like that, because they felt that a lot of the European population was not worth saving as well. But then,
all right, so Sasha may disagree with me, but you can't hold all of Afghanistan. People have tried to conquer Afghanistan for centuries, maybe even 1,000 frickin' years, and it's impossible country. It's all mountainous, and it's impossible to get in there. But we made a mistake. You can hold Kabul. So all of Afghanistan has 45 million people. Kabul has 5 million people, the capital city. And the U.S., plus the utterly ineffective Afghan military, they were able to hold Kabul for indefinitely. So we probably made a mistake of getting out of there. We probably should have pulled back to Kabul, to our big-ass base that we have there, and just continued to hold it. So if you're a woman in the rest of Afghanistan, if you can sneak away from your horrible village and make it to Kabul, you might have a better life. But in leaving Afghanistan altogether, yeah, we fucked everybody.
But isn't that what Maduro is saying that we're doing when going into Venezuela? If we go into Venezuela, because he's asked a couple of times if we are not setting ourselves up, because we don't know the Venezuela landscape the way that we think we know it. If we're not setting ourselves up,
I don't think we're going to go in
situation.
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, Trump, like I said earlier, Trump just signed a thing that said that states can't regulate AI. Mm-hmm. The idea that America's dumbest president, this almost 80-year-old, and nothing against, there are 80-year-old people who are smart, but Trump's been dumb his whole life and he's not getting any smarter. So the idea that he could understand AI and the risks of AI, and the idea that he can understand what might happen to Venezuela if we start poking at it, he has no predictive capability. And he doesn't have anybody in his White House who has any kind of grasp of anything. In his first administration, he had competent people, but they all tried working with him, and they didn't like him. He didn't like them. Now he's surrounded himself with similar idiots. So
and
no.
it sounds like he's guessing and hoping that, and this is going back into history, that Venezuela will be like the Falkland Islands when Great Britain invaded them and everything like that. But Falkland Islands is a very small island compared to Venezuela and everything like that. So maybe he's thinking
who gives
it's going to be like a rollover.
It's one of those, the Falklands are like one of those islands where they have more sheep than people. It's nothing. It's what, they got 40,000, 35,000 people. Who gives a crap? Venezuela has 28 million people, and most of them don't like their current leadership. But what happens if you somehow manage to knock him down? Like we did that under Obama in Libya. Gaddafi, terrible guy, had been a terrible guy for decades. We took him down, and Libya became a failed state where things are even crappier for Libyans now than they were under frickin' Gaddafi.
Oh, there's a big difference. England, UK, didn't fight Falkland Island. It was their territory. They were fighting Argentina. And of course, UK was much superior to Argentina, like their aviation, their, of course, fleet. So they made it a very quick victory, and that was the end of story. Now in Venezuela, to do anything in Venezuela, they have to actually invade the country.
Right. Exactly.
And now you're talking about Venezuela. I don't think that they have a great army, but U.S. to control Venezuela, invade, okay, they can do. But to control the country, they need an enormous force of hundreds of thousands of people. And Trump wants to get this 2026 Nobel Peace Prize. How he can get there with invading Venezuela, I don't know.
In 2003, we went into Iraq, and we took down Hussein. And then 1 million people died because we had no plan. In the subsequent civil war, at least 500,000, probably more like 1 million. We had no plan. We, famously, people in the White House under Bush said, we will be greeted with flowers, that the population will be overjoyed. So half of the population was overjoyed, the other half was pissed off, and they killed each other. So now Falklands, human population, 3,500, sheep population, 500,000, 142 sheep for every person. That thing, it's fine for a country to have a little tiny war every once in a while. It makes everybody.
Falkland Islands, they didn't fight war with anybody. It was English territory historically, and when Argentina made claim that they want to have it as their territory, and they named this territory Maldive Islands. So that's where the war between UK and Argentina started. Falklands didn't fight anybody.
Right, but it was a teeny little war, I guess, mostly with ships, because we had a little war, 30 years ago in Grenada. We didn't like the leadership of Grenada. We went in there, we knocked it down, we freed some mediocre students from the med school there. Like if you're a shitty student, but you still want to be a doctor, you go to med school on one of these, in Grenada. So we saved some American students, and America got to feel good. They had a war that lasted a week. That's fine,
But it was a short war and everything like that. But just really quickly, there are some people that are speculating that that's what should be done because it is a failed state as well, and it's got its own issues like with gangs and everything. Is that what we should be doing with Haiti? Because there's some people that are thinking that's what we should be doing with Haiti, because Haiti.
When you go into a country, there needs to be a potential system in place to replace what is currently there. There's nothing in frickin' Haiti. There's no political, as far as I know, and I don't know shit. But I don't think there's any political structure there to replace, just gang rule.
Yeah.
Unlike Venezuela, Haiti, to my knowledge, has no oil resources. So why would the United States be interested in Haiti one way or another? Let them just fuck. How Trump said about Ukraine, let them fight over. Let them have more fighting. So he can say the same about Haiti. Let them keep fighting and kill each other.
I mean, yeah. Haiti has been screwed up for decades.
Yeah.
They don't have any resources to encourage people to come in and try to fix things wholesale. So Grenada, population of 117,000. So, all right, we fought Grenada, a country with less than 0.5%, the population of Venezuela. We don't want them. We shouldn't.
But Venezuela is a big difference. It's an oil-rich country.
It's got the most oil of any country in the world, potentially.
Right. So that's a very different story compared to Haiti or Grenada or anything else. Venezuela is a very juicy prize to pick it up, and I don't know at what length Trump will go. I don't think that he will invade Venezuela because there is a risk involved. He wants the Nobel Peace Prize and all that consideration. So I'm not so sure that he will invade.
So we went in. We not
natural
found
resources, by the way, Rick. I know they have natural resources. I don't know what they are.
What?
What is Haiti's natural resources?
I'm nothing now. It's been plundered by the warlords. If anything, it's got some agriculture, but no, I'm sure Haiti's not in any position to export anything. So, like, we went in to Iraq because Iraq has oil, and so I looked up. Did we get to keep any oil from Iraq after knocking down their government? And yeah, kind of. In 2022, Iraq was the fourth largest supplier of crude oil to the U.S., accounting for 4% of total U.S. imports. Was it worth it to spend $1 trillion and have 1 million people die for 4% of our oil? Especially since we're energy independent. We make as much oil for export as we do for import. We don't need Iraq's oil. We didn't need that whole war. And why when we're energy independent do we need to go into Venezuela and make it easier to take their oil? It's for the oil companies. It's not for America. It would be tremendously expensive, tremendously risky, and tremendously bullshitty.
Well, again, when everything is dictated by one man, not U.S. State Department or Congress or anybody else, it's just one man show. If he decides to invade, he will. If he will decide not to invade, he will not. That's just as simple as that.
In Trump's first administration, for the first year, the Secretary of State was the former CEO of Exxon. And that guy, he lasted a year. And if Trump had come up with these ideas, that guy would have said, Don, you don't want to do that. And he would explain in dollars and cents and human lives, because, that guy, the CEO of Exxon, would have been happy to take over a country if it made sense. But that guy could have explained to Trump and he would have said, look, I run an oil company. We want their oil. We're not going to get it. It's going to cost too much. And Trump would have had to back down. That guy got disgusted after a year and left and called Trump the biggest fucking moron that he'd ever worked with. And now there's nobody like that in the White House. to talk sense to Trump.
Rick, by the way, this Tillerson
Yeah.
was ahead of ExxonMobil, and ExxonMobil, while Tillerson was president or CEO or both, they had a lot of very nice, juicy projects in Russia. And they were going on for a number of years. And at the end of the day, they were all expelled out of Russia, losing billions of dollars, equipment, everything. So, do you think today Tillerson would advise him to make a peace with Russia and cooperate with Russia and do the joint projects and all that stuff? I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, folks, we got to wrap up because I'm going to have to wrap up early because I got the other show as well.
Okay.
So we're
All
going
right.
to wrap up this show, and I'll catch y'all on World Edition on tomorrow.
All right. Thank you.
See you. Bye-bye.